This right here is the Bogan Bus, my brother's GQ wagon that we have built up over the past couple of years. Now we are getting this repainted in a 2K gloss paint, so we're stripping it down in preparation. Once the roof rack was off, we got a good look at these gutters and it's not looking great. The rust was back in full swing around the whole roof, leaving us to wonder, how the hell are we gonna fix this? This might just be the end of the Bogan Bus. Proudly supported by Superior Engineering. How's going? Welcome back to another episode. Today, we're not in the shed, we're at my brother's house, Harry, and we've got the Bogan Bus behind us. Now, there has been a little bit of drama with the Bogan Bus. We found a shitload more rust in it. We kind of attacked it and we cut the roof off. So today, we've got to put the roof back on. So the only way to properly fix rust is to fully cut it out. So we actually cut the roof off. We drilled all the spot welds out that were holding the gutter on, very similar to what I did to coal. And while the roof is off, we decided to not remake the gutter. We're actually going to run a tube style gutter, so basically a roof slider. Over the course of 2 weeks, Harry has been rust converting and priming and painting and getting rid of all the rust off the actual car itself. So the stage we're at now is basically we just got to put the roof back on. We've got to cut the gutters to size. We're going to put it up there, weld it up and then seam seal it. And hopefully we can save this little Bogan Bus from the scrap yard because it was looking pretty bad at the start. Towards the rear was getting really bad. We did a lot of rust patching up here, but you can see there's still a hole up there. So we do need to patch that as well. But yeah, what we're going to do first is we're going to take these quarter glasses out and then we'll probably lift the roof back up and get it welded back to the car. And the roof is actually over here. So the other thing that we've done is we've cut about a 10mm lip right around this roof here and also rust converted and primed the whole inside of the roof. So we're basically at the stage where this roof can go back on the car. We're going to tack the roof to the actual car itself. And then once that's tacked on, we can lay our tube out and then weld the tube to the car and to the roof. Then we can seam seal. And hopefully this is going to turn out all right because we have no idea how it's actually going to go yet. I think we'll start by pulling this glass out here just because we're going to be welding really close to this. Don't want to melt the rubber and I also don't want to slag up this glass. And then we can probably lift the roof on and see if we can get this thing to look like a car again. Last thing we want is to damage the glass with the welder, so we remove and cover all the windows. We're dabbing some silicone onto the frame to help with any vibrations, and then we carefully pick up the roof and drop it back on the patrol. Right, so we've actually just lifted the roof back up and we chucked the silicone on, so she's pretty well ready to just start prepping for welding. I want to quickly show you guys this because Harry kept some of the old steel. So this is part of the roof and these are the gutters here, so you can see that rust was just building up way too much. And if you were to send that off to a painter and they professionally painted it, it would only be probably a year or so and that would all come straight back through and you'd literally be back to square one. You have to pay for the whole thing and you'd have to do this anyway. So yeah, hopefully we've done the right thing. We've cut it out. But what we're probably going to do is just tack this roof back down to the car. So we've got to pull it down as hard as we can and then tack it to the actual car itself. And then once that's tacked, we've got this tube on the ground here and that is actually going to become our new rail. And we are going to weld that right along the edge here and then we seam seal top and bottom. Righto, we're at the stage of tacking. So you can see I've got this seam here just about as good as I can get it. When we do this window here, we're gonna have to go around with this clamp thing here and make sure it's clamped down super tight. Then I can actually just put some tack welds along there. Now you can see we've drilled out all the spot welds. So I'm gonna have to try and fill all those spot welds with weld again so we can get a nice edge along here. Cars are made up of thin steel, so welding them can be a little bit tricky. What I'm doing is a series of small tack welds, and this is going to allow me to slowly fill the gaps without blowing through the steel. Once I'm done here, we have to grind everything nice and flat and make it look as factory as possible. As you guys can see here, we have the corners now done, and I've welded the whole front of that and then flapped it back. It's definitely not perfect, and this car will probably never be perfect again, but the roof is back on it, and that's the main thing. You can push up here, it's very strong, and you can see here we've got heaps of penetration right through that seam weld. So the roof is basically pinch weld back onto this, and it's nice and stout. So what we need to do is now work along this edge and weld this back in. We're actually going to be welding the roof to the car, and then once we put our tube up, we'll be welding the tube to both the roof and the car again. We're just going to basically go through and tack weld this to the roof just to get it in the right position. Now we're going to work front to back, and that's just so the roof, basically we can push it down as we go along, and we'll do this side and then the other side. Then we can actually weld the back up. The difference between other people doing roof sliders is they actually sit it in the gutter and then weld it to the gutter. Obviously we don't have a gutter, so I think our roof slider is actually going to sit a little bit lower. We need it to be in between that join there. I'm hoping it's going to look good, but we really didn't have any other choice on how to do it. So let's start welding again and get back into it and try and get this roof back together.
It takes two of us to push a roof down and tack it, but once it's welded, it holds itself there and I can smack my way along with a hammer. Doing this makes sure that the two steel parts are touching before I weld, and getting them as close as possible ensures that that weld is penetrating both the roof and the car, making it nice and strong. The rear of this patrol was just about the worst part for us, so we are also doing a tube gutter here. We're just unsure how it's going to look, but it's really our only option at this point.
Alright, it has been a good few hours. We have been smashing the welding and grinding out on the roof. What we're up to is we have basically fully welded right along to here on both sides, and then from here on back it is just tack weld. The only reason that we tack welded that is because we're starting to run out of gas, and it really doesn't need to be fully welded. It just needs to be tack welded because there was only spot welds holding that roof in prior. The good thing is we've been grinding it back until the bar actually sits quite flat on this roof, so we're pretty well right to go. It's actually just going to depend how long we want this bar to go, because Harry's got twin snorkels on this thing now, so the snorkel finishes somewhere about here, so we're thinking that we'll probably stop the bar right about here, but we're not too sure about that yet.
We are finally getting these bars up. The biggest thing here is that we make them the same on both sides. The tube is actually a little bit flexible, so we are tacking the back just above the rear quarter glass and then holding the front down to follow the shape of the roof. This is actually starting to look pretty good. Once they are both tacked, it's time to lay some valley welds at the top and stitch the roof to the tube. I'm going to do this much hotter than the tack welds as the tube is a thicker steel, and holding the welder onto the tube and quickly flicking it onto the car makes it so the weld is penetrating the tube and not blowing through the thin steel. Now the rear of the patrol has a natural curve in it, so we are doing a strong tack in the middle and then flexing the tube down on each end and tacking them in. Right, she's all welded up. Let's push her out and have a look at the new roof sliders on the Bogan bus. All right, brother.
All done.
What do you reckon?
Looks good.
I actually reckon that turned out pretty good for what we were working with, which was pretty bad. Now, I've basically just done stitch welds right along the top, but they're nice and hot and they're burnt right in. But honestly, that looks pretty good for what we were working with. Now, Harry's actually saying that he might have some clips of how bad the rust was. I think I even filmed coming out here and we pried into it a little bit, but if we have some clips, we'll throw it in about how bad this roof actually was. And I think we actually managed to save it. So all Harry has left to do is to get it in paint, so he's going to have to etch prime it. Once it's actually painted, he can then run some seam sealer along the top or even some Sikaflex. Because basically under there you can see daylight coming through, so once he runs a nice bead of silicone right through the top of that, you'll have no water leaks. It'll be a factory style gutter, but way stronger. So I'm actually pumped with that. It's very strong. You could lean your car up against that, no worries. Definitely a lot of content on the way with this thing. We'll do an update once it's painted as well. It's not going to be the same color, but we're not going to tell you the color just yet. We do need to do a bit of an update because there's twin snorks already on it. We've got a new bull bar hopefully on the way. I actually reckon that looks pretty sick. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think. It's been a big day. I definitely don't recommend doing this if you're not sort of qualified in, actually I'm not qualified at all.
Bush mechanic
but
qualified.
I don't recommend cutting your roof off unless you kind of know what you're doing, because it is pretty full on. And you do need to know sort of how to weld. It's a little bit difficult to weld the thin steel. I'm sort of suggesting to Harry that what he should do is right here, he should get someone to fold up a bit of steel and come across the top, and then we can mount a light bar to that. And I think that would sort of finish off the whole look of it. As for the back, what we had to do is weld right in the center, because this kind of has a natural curve to it. So we welded it in the center, then we tacked it on one side and then pulled one side down and tacked that. Then we come back and cut that weld off and then pulled this side down and tacked that. But the back doesn't look too bad at all. It would be nice to just have a normal gutter on the back, ideally, because it doesn't look great having tube up there. But I'm actually stoked with that, eh?
Yeah, looks fantastic.
I actually reckon that that turned out really good.
Once it's painted and everything, all the ends capped, should be looking mint.
Yeah, we've still got to try and get some caps for here, so we can just push in some caps. That'll tidy that up a lot. But yeah, honestly, I reckon that turned out bloody sick. So if you are not subscribed, definitely consider doing so, because there's heaps more content like this on the way. And I'm sorry it wasn't a very structured video. I just actually had to come out and help Harry do this, so I figured I may as well film it. But yeah, it's taken probably what, 4 days in total. Cut the roof off and tidy everything up. It's probably 4 days, but it's well worth it. When there's heaps of rust, you just got to get rid of it before you go any further, I guess. Otherwise it's just going to come back twice as hard.
You could think, oh, we'll just cab swap it, but you probably buy another one with the exact same problem.
Yeah, that's true. We definitely did sort of think about getting a new cab from Facebook Marketplace, but the amount of time you got to put into swapping the cab over, and then, you know, the cab still might have rust. It might not be showing, but it probably would have rust under those rails, because it's a very poor design how they've done that rail, and that's why every GQ rusts out. But anyway, we won't talk about that anymore. The Bogan bus has been saved. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
It wasn't looking good there for a while, but now she's back to looking good. He was panicking like crazy when we cut the roof off. He was panicking, weren't you?
Oh yeah, we need a new cab as soon as he touches it.
Alright, that's going to be it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this weird little episode, but Bogan bus has been saved. Catch you guys on the next episode. Yeah.
RoamLife.com for t-shirts.
Oh, there is actually some hats on the way. I did order hats, so they should be here soon if anyone wants a hat. But yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys later.